Evil exists. Nevertheless, the problem of evil is quickly dismissed with the intent of positive thinking and therefore production of a better well-being. When looking at the big picture, it is realized that the conscious master of the universe has good intentions. Whether or not humans want to choose this help and accept this positive vibration is of far more importance than the mere fact that it is possible for things to go wrong. And as a contingency, the problem can be metaphysically solved outside of time and space as well. The problem of evil is a disease in the literal sense, that it hurts whoever embraces it. Focusing on the negative serves less purpose than a redirection of energy towards positive manifestation. Forbes magazine tells us that realistic optimists are successful and generally put more effort into a cause. Meanwhile, pessimists offer much less to the world and they are miserable along the way. Also, when somebody is inappropriate towards you, it is in your best interest to not retaliate or take it out on somebody else. Why would you spread more evil and keep it going on longer than is necessary? The spirit of true health does not come from dwelling on misfortune. Learning from evil allows for spiritual growth and improves mental health. The problem of evil is totally ignorant of the complete picture. The tree of knowledge, good and evil, is not simply the tree of evil. Where did the good go? For example, the blue note in blues music is measured as the wrong frequency by the major scale, but it is so favorable that most pop songs are written in this variance between right and wrong, and not totally major scale with an always happy mood. Well-timed placement of this wrong note actually gives pleasurable feelings. It becomes more difficult to write a happy pop song and has to be done with caution as to not sound cheesy. Random structures show how a probabilistically unlikely universe of perfection will not be the mainstream, and definitely not the entirety of the possibly infinite universe. In other words, perfection is possible, but not probable. Similarly, Euripides' Bacchae shows us the character Dionysus, a god that is a sort of anti-hero having a less than perfect personality, which is vengefully, grotesquely, and destructively proud. This is not a benevolent, modern, monotheistic supreme godhead, but part of the collective human psyche and human nature itself. He is a beautiful image of the evil that certainly exists. Still, he is also known as a god of pleasure, passion, and ecstasy. His identity not only shows the bad side of human existence, but also the fun side and the duality of life. It's not all so bad. Some maintain that this evil exists solely because the world is nothing but mechanical motion in a lifeless universe, and does not care about humans or justice in any way whatsoever. Stories in general, much less stories of love, are made up and not real. There is no morality, only a cover-up of all the bad, wrong, dissonant notes that make up the majority of the sounds being produced. However, in opposition, the astrophysicist and human scientist Tom Chi explains that everything really is connected, and not in some abstract, esoteric way. For example, iron is needed for our hearts to transport oxygen. Next, supernovas exploding and imploding is how iron is made. Then supernovas depend on galactic trajectory patterns and are fractals of the blood vessels illustrated inside the human lungs. I omitted a lot of details here for the sake of time. Regardless, there is plenty of evidence of a purpose for our creation. Breath is life, and this interconnection is an element of almost every spiritual tradition of humankind. It is probable that the supposition of life is merely mechanical is entirely false. Instead, this terrible suffering is a well thought out and designed evil, not a numerical statistic or a random accident. There's no longer probability at play. There is a design, and the intent of the creator is what shows itself. Dostoevsky writes, "A beast could never be so cruel as man, so artistically cruel." How can the world be mechanical and cruel? So evil exists because of the mechanistic, soulless nature of the creator, and that creator hates us and wants to destroy us as well. Since intelligent design struggles against randomness, and there is clearly intelligence in the structure of nature, let us suppose the world not to be mechanistic, Instead, let us question the benevolence of the laws of nature. In a specific portrayal of evil, Dostoevsky's character Ivan Karamazov demonstrates through simple logic that children are innocent. They do not deserve to have evil inflicted upon them, yet they do feel these sufferings. They must suffer for their father's sins who have eaten the apple, but that reasoning is incomprehensible on earth. Yet this is itself just a story and not an actual fact. Many times the worst is glorified by these that enjoy negativity and want everyone else to suffer as much as they do. Even the news stories in the media highlight disturbing problems and rarely, if ever, expose the truth of balance in the existence of prosperity. Yes, these children suffer, but it's a rarity. A very high percentage of children are not tortured or exposed to the atrocity of life until much older. It does happen, but not often. Evil is not the source of nature, but a distortion of its virtue. Imagine a cigarette smoker cursing the sky for their misery. Do they hear the cry of the dying cells in their own throat, asking their overlord for mercy? In the same way, the master of the universe does not have to be indifferent towards the suffering of humans. An athlete is not abandoning their muscle cells during a workout. A dying organ is of utmost importance to the wounded woman. Even though she hates it, she cannot heal it. She is not betraying her lower dimensional blood at the moment of her death. She may have been ignorant of her own flesh when deciding to live by the sword. However, she did not purposefully attack herself out of malicious intent. Admittedly, it might be further thought that her ignorance of the body is an evil of a different sort. Yet if this train of thought continues, her virtue in the name of justice might have been morally acceptable. So it shows that the allowance of evil can be again justified in the exact same way that it can be unjustified, one upping the other potentially forever, but more likely until the human mind gets tired, falls asleep, and completely forgets the problem of evil altogether. Then she dreams of flying or sacred geometric patterns, which are complex images of justification, non-random organization, pleasure, and a healthy self-consciousness. And just to clarify, self-consciousness, which is similar to self-righteousness, can be put to good use as a positive understanding of oneself. Hence, it can also lead to benevolence, not to be confused with vanity or pride. As many struggle with self-hatred and self-image problems, so here it is diagnosed to love oneself and the world alike. And so we see the choice of health and well-being that feels so good. Now Dionysus returns and allows King Midas to have basically anything desired. So the king chooses to have whatever he touches turn to gold. Dionysus is disappointed and eventually helps the king return to normal life after this superpower goes askew and becomes evil. This shows us that what we think is bad can actually be good, and what we think is good might be bad. The power of choice and the wisdom that comes with it makes for an interesting story and a better life. And most importantly, the evil that comes from gold could have been avoided through better discernment. I remember when working as a concierge for a Mexican vacation rental, I frequently received the question, "Is it safe here?" I responded the same way every time. "Is New York City safe? If you go to the beach in the daytime, you will surely have a great time. If you go down a dark alley at night, you will statistically find more crime." The law of attraction tells us that what you pay for is what you get. Evil is a choice that doesn't need to be the reality. When thought is employed in caretaking, good is almost a certainty. The highest form of intelligence that has governed the machines here on earth come from men of love. The Albert Einstein experience certainly includes ideas of theism and love, alongside his equations for relativity and his musically structured playtime. Nikola Tesla came from a house of faith, so to speak, and sought free energy and gifts of abundance for all. James Clerk Maxwell saw no interference between the natures of the universe and the natures of a positive Godhead. Sir Isaac Newton was a theist. The lives of Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Cesar Chavez all show how nonviolence and the refusal to partake in evil has gained more momentum than an eye for eye type of justice. Their dedication to the good succeeded almost simply by trying. They show us that true progress has been achieved by means of love. Evil exists, but if one wants to escape it, they can. Okay, so maybe there would not need to be improvement if everything was already perfect, without blemish, right? But it is only the suffering exists that so does the good. Instead, let us blame the longing for something good as a source of evil. If life were neutral, there would be no wrong. However, life is realistically dynamic by choice of the creator and the creation alike. The fact that there is cruelty actually proves the existence of goodness in nature. This base existence does not destroy the existence of a high-minded crown chakra type deity, which truly does love its lower qualities. Eastern philosophy explains this by the properties of yin and yang. True evil must be balanced by true good. The evil and the coldness of ever expansion, unlimited possibility, and the freedom of choice must be countered by the warmth of concentration, the virtuous goal of structure, and the stability of choosing the righteous path. Even emotion shows us that our perception of the world around us is ultimately benevolent. We only feel the suffering of evil because of our good nature. Otherwise, we would be completely insensitive to it. Ultimately, reincarnation is completely possible. In the book, Call Me By My True Names, Thich Nhat Hanh discusses the Buddhist philosophy that one is both the rapist and the rape victim. If I take the responsibility for all the evil of the world, I am allowed to forgive the evildoer and remember to not cause evil unto others. Here the children could be suffering for past lives. This is more logically sound than the approximation of calculus. Most of the time when a child dies of cancer, they are much more at peace than their parents, who selfishly wants to continue their own life after death by means of reproduction. On a different note, is really God's fault that the child abuser chose evil? No, it's the responsibility of the criminal. When one recognizes the perpetually mystic Tao of the universe, the need to pursue worldly justice fades into dust. What is now here is only what I choose. Why would evil be important if it is not in the room with me? More so, it is logical that the universe is forever expanding and compressing, respirating, inhaling, and exhaling. The Big Bang yesterday, the Great Collapse tomorrow. And this oscillation could very well be eternal in nature. And if life is forever and infinite, it can be infinitely good forever. I could spend my entire childhood not going down the dark alley. I could spend the rest of my days breathing deeply in the garden, eating the fruits of heaven. Evil exits.